What's going on, folks? Nate here at Two Wheel Dyno Works. I'm back on the dyno today, obviously with our new 25 Tenere 700, and today I'm doing some intake testing because one of the intake kits that I've had on order for a while has finally shown up. They're pretty hard to see once they're installed, but obviously this is not the stock airbox. This is the, I don't know how to say this, completely 100% Chinesium intake kit from a company called Nice CNC. You can find them on eBay. And it actually fits. It's in there pretty well. It's got a pretty large oiled gauze filter on top, and then the housing of it itself, that you probably won't be able to see under here, is just a big old block of machined aluminum. And, you know, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it definitely does the job. Now, we covered this on the prior generation Tenere 700 as well, and pretty much every other Yamaha CP2 that we have ever covered, so the MT-07, the R7, the XSR 700, the FZ-07, blah, 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 blah. All the airboxes are a restriction. They kind of suck. Once you get the snorkel out of the equation, you've maxed out the flow rate and capabilities of the stock box, and you're looking at aftermarket intake kits that are complete replacement kits, not just stupid filter setups. Those don't really do much of anything, but the complete intake replacement kits to get some more top-end performance out of these bikes. Now, just to quickly recap, so we've got a frame of reference here. The red line is our bike bone stock, 63.5 horsepower, 44 and 4/10 of a pound-foot of torque to the tire on pump gas. And the blue line's how it was the last time I posted a video on this bike, with a full crop of its exhaust system installed, the snorkel deleted, and our custom ECU mapping. Obviously, there's huge gains off the bottom through the mid-range, and those gains carry all the way to the top end. But you can see the curve there at the top end looks kind of wonky. That section of the power curve where it kind of just flattens out for a second, and then right at the very end spikes up a little bit, is the stock airbox. Again, they suck. There's no way around that. There's no really working with them, but these aftermarket replacement intake kits do a very good job of filling out that top-end performance gap and massively smoothing out the power curve. And as you can see there for yourself, the green line is the much smoother top-end curve. That is with that Nice CNC kit installed now on our bike with the same full Acra exhaust and our custom ECU mapping overhauled to match the new airflow characteristics of that airbox. You can see that it now is just a nice smooth curve all the way to the limiter. There's no more flat spot there around 8,000 RPM. There are a couple little tiny spots like there and there where there's maybe less than a 1 horsepower difference between the stock airbox and this kit. So I'm saying that the CNC actually flows slightly less right there and there, but you can't feel it. Sub 1 horsepower losses through the mid-range there is inconsequential in comparison to the 4+ horsepower you're gaining out there at the top end. And if I go ahead and highlight that portion of the graph, you can actually see that it is exactly 4 horsepower. We're talking about 66.07 horse at, what was that, 8,300 RPM, and now we're exactly at 70, and it peaks out at 71. So again, that is just a massively smoother top-end curve. If you own one of these bikes, even with a full exhaust system and tuning installed, you know what I'm talking about. The power does kind of fall flat between like 7,500 and 8,000, maybe 8,500 RPM. This fixes all of that. So if you're actually going to be using that upper portion of the rev range, this is definitely a kit worth considering. I also like this dirt cheap intake kit because honestly, if you're ever doing any kind of massively aggressive off-road riding, you can put a filter sock over that. There's a zillion of them out there available from the automotive industry that will go ahead and fit right over these conical air filters, and this air filter is actually very easy to get to. A lot of the other intake kits require that you disassemble part of the intake itself to get to the internal filters, and that's a pain in the ass on a bike with a big tank and lots of plastics, whereas with this guy, you can go ahead and get a screwdriver right to the clamp there, pop this off, clean it, oil it, do whatever you want, and pop it back on. So of the intake kits that are out there for the Yamaha CP2s on any platform, not just the Tenere 700, this is probably the easiest to maintain kit I've seen out there on the market. And because it's made out of dirt cheap Chinesium, again, the entire kit cost me like $150. Which is a fraction of the cost of the intake kits that are out there on the market for these bikes. Again, talking about all the Yamaha CP2 platforms. There's lots of kits out there from Yoshimura, from the folks over at TST. I don't believe the Horde Power kit actually fits underneath the Tenere 700 gas tank, but there's lots of stuff out there, and they're several $100s. They work incredibly well. I've reviewed them many times in the past on our R7 and our MT-07, especially our new 2025 that we've been developing mapping for. But this is built specifically for the T7, and it's so cheap, and it does the job very well that I've got a really hard time not recommending it to be the kit to buy if you're going to be doing a lot of off-road riding for the reasons that I just mentioned with how cleanable and easy to access that filter is. And for those of you that I'm sure that want to see how this bike performs as it sits right now here on our dyno versus how it performed stock, there's the before and after. As you can see, the gains are absolutely enormous everywhere. You're talking about nearly 15% performance improvements up here around 8,500 RPM, and about 15% torque improvements right off the bottom and through the mid-range. The bike really doesn't feel anything like it did in bone stock configuration, and I was already a huge fan of it then, but there's such clear tuning shortfalls and very easy to solve intake and exhaust restrictions that I truly think this is the way the bike should have come out of the factory, and probably the way Yamaha would have intended them to come out of the factory if they weren't hamstrung by modern emissions compliance. And before everybody in the comment section goes, oh, but what about the GYTR intake? Chill. It is on order. There is only one GYTR dealer that I can even find in the English-speaking world, and they only speak English because they're German. There's literally no GYTR off-road dealer that I can find that can even order these kits in the United States. So I ordered them from some company out of Germany and found somebody that actually spoke English over there and that I could talk to, but they're a few months out. They're also astronomically expensive. Again, I've tuned a boatload of these bikes here on our dyno. I've seen every intake kit imaginable, besides that GYTR kit, and I'm really skeptical that it's going to flow any better at all, if not maybe a little worse, than this kit for 150 bucks. By the time I paid for the GYTR kit, shipping, and the filter, I was out nearly $700 US. So I will show the performance of it when it finally shows up, but I'm not going to be shocked when it either performs not any better than this or worse. Now, regardless of what specific intake and exhaust combo you go ahead and decide to put on your new Tenere 700, I can guarantee that you're not going to find higher quality intake and exhaust specific tuning anywhere else than right here at Tool Dyno Works for these bikes. Like I said, I have flashed and tuned several thousand Yamaha CP2s over the years, and absolutely nobody goes through anywhere near the level of intake and exhaust specific tuning R&D that we do here at Tool Dyno Works on these bikes. So, if you're looking to get our custom tuning in your new bike, head over to tooldynoworks.com, purchase our mail and ECU flashing service on our website, follow the instructions, send it to us, and we'll go ahead and get it flashed for your specific setup and shipped right back to you the very same day we receive it. And as always, if you have any questions whatsoever about intake modifications, exhaust modifications, or getting your bike properly tuned and dialed in, please do not hesitate to email us at support@tooldynoworks.com. I personally answer any and all tech support questions every single day that we are open here at the shop, and we truly are always happy to help.